Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss the traditional concept of state. The traditional concept of state basically started from the state of nature, which in my previous video you can see that the state of nature is a state when it was considered that other individuals are as harmful to men as others are. So basically, he did not consider safe in his surroundings. So this is the thing. When in state of nature, man considered himself in a danger, in a constant danger, and he decided to withdraw his natural rights, and then he signed the social contract. So, in traditional concept, we will discuss the theories of classical theories of Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, John Locke, Hobbes, etc. So, Plato Plato believed that justice is achieved when individuals set aside their traditional desires for personal pleasure and act in accordance with reason and virtue. This Plato's concept also included the notion of honesty, goodness, paying one debts, and speaking the truth. So, this concept of Plato's philosophy basically revolves around the idea that justice is a quality of soul. He believed that justice is achieved when individuals set aside their irrational desires for personal pleasure and act accordance with reason and virtue. Unlike Aristotelianism, there are other um, Platonianism views, ideas, or purer matters, and that identify that the persons with soul have the justice. And when they have justice, they set aside their um, worldly desires, irrational desires, personal desires, and act in accordance with reason and virtue. Second classical political philosopher is Aristotle, and he said that in a traditional concept of Aristotle, he emphasized or highlighted the importance of observation and empirical evidence in understanding the world, natural world. Basically, what he did, he believed that the knowledge is acquired through senses, and the ultimate goal of human life is to achieve goals, is to achieve the perfect life, is to achieve the virtuous and fulfilling life. And this Aristotle's philosophy also emphasized that there is a logic, ethics, politics, and metaphysics. So basically, he developed a proper system of deductive reasoning. There are two types of reasoning, deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, which you can Google later. And he basically made a developed system of logic, formal logic, that is still influential today. His ethical theory focused on the development of moral values and pursuit of mean between extremes. So, in terms of metaphysics, what Aristotle proposed was that the theory of proportionality or potentiality and actuality, asserting that everything in the world has the potential to become something else, and that the actualization of these potentials lead to the realization of its essence, which means that when you actually adopt something, you it leads to the realization of its essence. It leads to the realization of importance. Machiavelli. Machiavelli's concept basically challenges the traditional viewpoint of virtue and morality. So basically, what Plato and Aristotle emphasized in their classical philosophy is that there should be morality, there should be virtue, there should be justice in society, and there should be persons with selfless character. So he challenges this traditional viewpoint, and he emphasized that the use of cunning methods, the use of manipulative or even violence to maintain power and stability. What Plato and Aristotle are promoting is that the ruler should be selfless enough to pursue the well being or collective good of its people, while Machiavelli is promoting or emphasizing the cunning and the manipulative or violence behavior of ruler to maintain or contain the power and stability over its subjects. So Machiavelli's ideas were groundbreaking and they were controversial during the times, and he deviated basically from the prevailing moral principles of Plato and Aristotle and ethical standards of political philosophy. This concept of cunning and manipulative use of force and violence uh, concepts were used by Machiavelli in his book The Prince, in which he discussed the political power and leadership. His concept challenges the traditional viewpoint, obviously, and Machiavelli's ideas they were not welcoming enough in his time because he properly deviated from the political behavior of a ruler. Thomas Hobbes. In Thomas Hobbes' concept of state, he characterized that a state is characterized by a strong central government with the power to enforce laws and maintain order. So he is basically promoting the rule of law. And he believed that this was necessary to prevent the chaos and violence that would ensue in the absence of a governing authority. So, this is the thing. Machiavelli's and Thomas Hobbes' ideas are completely opposite. They completely contradict with each other. And according to Thomas Hobbes, the state's primary role is to protect the citizens and maintain social stability, while Machiavelli is proposing that the ruler can enforce his power and authority over his citizens and can uh, disarray the social stability. So these ideas were Thomas Hobbes were presented in his book Leviathan. And according to Hobbes, the state is a social contract created by individuals to escape the chaotic and violent state of nature. And in the state of nature, humans are driven by their own self-interest, and in contrast, or sometimes consistent conflict with one another. And he believed that the life in the state of nature was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. He said that to establish order and avoid this state of war, individually basically voluntarily surrender their rights, their natural rights, to a central government authority, and this was called the social contract, which I explained in the initial lines of this video. So next is John Locke. John Locke's traditional concept of state basically revolved around the idea of natural law, natural rights, and the consent of the governed. He believed in the existence of a state of nature where individuals had certain inherent law or certain inherent rights such as life, liberty, property, right to have family. According to Locke, individuals voluntarily enter into a social contract to establish civil society and form a government to protect these natural rights. The government's legitimacy and authority are derived from the consent of the people it governed, and primarily purpose is to safeguard the right and welfare of its citizens. Locke basically emphasized limited government, separation of power, and right of revolution. If government fails to fulfill its obligation, um, they has to maintain the order in the society. Locke's ideas greatly influenced and later political philosophers and the development of democratic principles. So basically, the foundation of democratic principles were laid on the principles of John Locke, and in Greek city states, it was also seen the democratic government. So now see, in Thomas Hobbes' theory, Hobbes is suggesting to completely withdraw their natural rights, while in John Locke's natural rights, while John Locke, his theory emphasizes that the citizens should maintain their natural law, their natural rights, and the government should establish their government in a very consent way of the people. So it is advisable in John Locke theory that the individuals, um, the people should not withdraw their natural rights, and the ruler or the administration or the government should maintain the democratic principles in the state, while it was not permissible in the homostabs, because he was saying that laws of citizens were to be withdrawn. Rousseau. Rousseau argued against the traditional views of religion and advocated for a society based on the general will of the people. And he criticized the concept of property. Rousseau's ideas often centered around the importance of individual freedom, the corrupting influence of civilization, and the need for a more egalitarian and democratic society. So, he argued against the traditional views that we discussed before, and his political philosophy was greatly influenced by the Age of Enlightenment. And Rousseau's ideas often centered around the importance of individual freedom, because he said that in a democratic society, individual freedom is very much important, where individuals do not have rights, their fundamental or basic rights. The society is not democratic. It can be said as aristocratic or dictatorship society. The evolution of state. The evolution of state, you can see the video in which I discussed the theories of origin of state, where a state originated from Greek city states to feudal system, then to Oriental Empire, then to Roman Empire, and so on. So basically, the state originated in the form of city states, and in ancient civilizations, in like Egypt, Indus Valley, or many others ancient civilization, city-states emerged as political entities, and they were the early states which were often centered around a city and its surrounding agricultural hinterland. So basically, rulers, often kings or like queens, etc., exercised authority and controlled resources. Then gradually, city-states, started to have unity, and they sometimes come together in the form of confederation. The state went into feudalism, where feudalism dominated in medieval Europe, where power was decentralized and there were monarchs who ruled over a patchwork of feudal domains, and the monarch exercised varying degrees of control and relied on the royalty of nobles in exchange for land and protection. Then it continued to nation state, which the Renaissance and Enlightenment period in Europe saw the emergence of modern nation state. This era, which was witnessed in the development of centralized authority, defined borders, the idea of sovereignty, and the idea of Westphalia in 1648 marked a significant milestone by recognizing the sovereignty of individual states. So basically, states recognize each other's from this Treaty of Westphalia. Then colonialism and imperialism, European colonial expansion in the 16th and 17th century reshaped the world map, and colonial powers established control over the vast territories and people, often imposing their systems of governance, which era led to a birth of many modern nation states in Asia, Africa, America as they, gained independence. And then there is an industrialization and welfare state. Welfare state is a state when the government makes such programs which are proved to be in the welfare of its people. So basically, the industrial revolution in 19th and 18th century brought about profound economic and social changes. States began to play a more active role in regulated markets and providing social services, giving to rise the concept of welfare state. And there is importance of individual freedom. In welfare state, the economies are normally stable enough that there is low poverty and the rights of the people are guaranteed. Then, when the nation states were established, World War were, witnessed over the world, and the devastating effects of World War One, World War Two, and sometimes Cold War prompted the establishment of international organizations like United Nations and other significant organizations to promote peace and cooperation among states. And United Nations basically made the Bretton Woods system. It is the economic system on which the dollar or other currencies were used for the exchange, which led to the globalization and interdependence of nation state system. And in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, we seen an increased amount of globalization, with states becoming more interconnected economically, politically, and culturally. And states have had to adopt a new challenges like climate change, because when there is globalization and interconnectedness, there is much more industrialization, and due to which there is carbon dioxide emission, and states have now jumped upon the ultimate decision to protect the climate and to combat terrorism, to combat cyber warfare in this interconnected world, which led to the emergence of non-state actors, and which are certain multinational organizations, NGOs, transnational criminal organizations, and they have gained influence in shaping state policies and international affairs. You must have heard about lobbying, where certain group of people or organization, they collectively pursue their interest at the national level, and they present their interest at parliament, so that government or legislation make policies into their interests. Then there is digital transformation. In the digital age, it has brought up new challenges related to cybersecurity, data privacy, which is GDPR, which is very important, and the role of technology companies in the governance of state. Then there is shift of governance model, in which some states have experimented different government models such as authoritarianism, democracy, and various forms of hybrid systems. Hybrid systems, for example, in UK we can see there is constitutional monarchy, which means there is monarchy, there is king, but the king is very much nominal, that there is parliament in the country to run or to administer its people or its foreign affairs, etc. So this is called the hybrid systems, where there are two different kinds of uh, governance model. They integrate with each other and they form one governance model. Then there are limitations of traditional concept. There is limited sovereignty. Obviously, states would not have enough sovereignty. Other empires can easily have war with other states, because in feudalism, um, where the feudals normally they try to increase their power over as much land or as much people as they want. So there were inadequate global challenges, which are, trade agreements, climate change, terrorism, cyber threat, and other ethnic or different cultural shocks. Then there is ethnic and cultural diversity, which means that the traditional state concept assumes a relatively homogeneous population within the defined borders. In reality, means that there is many states that are characterized by diverse ethnic, religious, and cultural groups, and managing this diversity can be a significant challenge and can lead to a conflict and tension, because these ethnic or cultural diversity groups then need representation over the national level, and they do not have that much um, or adequate representation at national level, and they are not sometimes granted enough rights, so which leads to inadequate representation. Then there is separation of power, that every institution in today's world has separate power. For example, legislation has the power to make the laws, executive has the power to execute the laws, or judiciary has the power for judicial processes. So no institution can interfere in others institution power, and in traditional states there was absence of separation of power, and there were ineffectiveness in addressing transnational issues, because they used to impulsively declare war upon others, and they do not uh, solve their foreign affairs in a diplomatic way, because there were not that much rigid borders, and this was the reason traditional states they face challenges to protect their borders. There was no economic globalization. States have to manage their economic resources on their own, and there was obviously lack of technological advancement. There were no migrant or refugee crises or environmental or resource challenges. That's for traditional concept of state. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.